Okay, so in the last video what we have seen is how to use get records to fetch the data inside the flow. In this video we are going to learn how flow can be used to update records. So a couple of things we will see in this video. One, how to update records, what is assignment in flow, and how to debug a flow, right? So creating a flow is one part as an admin, and to debug that is again another important part. So let's understand the same thing with a real-time example, right? This time our example is, so we have already created an object called LoyaltyPoints, and which is the child of account, right? So we have account and the child of account is LoyaltyPoints. Okay, so the real requirement was, we started with the real business requirement, right, of the retail management company. So they had like many distributors, okay, and the distributors were nothing but the customer for the company. The distributors data they actually have captured inside account. Okay, every month end of the day the distributor was making some sales, right? They were purchasing some amount of goods, right? So every month, end of the month, right, a new loyalty points was getting created under the account. Okay, and the important part is here. In account there's a field called loyalty points. Okay, this field I actually have created. I have created a field called loyalty points inside this account. Okay, initially let's say this customer had no loyalty points created so far. Initially there was no loyalty points, so it was 0. Let's say last month there's a loyalty point data has been created under the account, and the amount was 100 USD, suppose. So the business requirement was, if the total amount in the loyalty point was 100, then 10%, right? 10% means this is how you calculate 10%, right, of some amount. So 10% of this amount, sales amount, would be added over here. So it was 0, right? But after adding 100 US dollar as the sales price, it is now 10. Next month one more loyalty point has been created. Every month there'll be new loyalty points created by the sales guy, right? So next month when the new loyalty point gets created, let's say this time the amount is the sales amount is 200, right? And 10% of 200 is how much? 20. Okay, so previous point was 10. Understand this, previous point was 10, and now the new point is 10 plus 20, which is 30. Got it? Again, next month another new loyalty point data has been created under the same account, and this time let's say the amount is 300, right? If it is 300, then 10% is how much? 30, right? So previous amount was 30, now the new value is 30 plus 30 is 60. Like that, the account was gathering the loyalty points every month. The distributors every month was gathering few points based on the sum amount, and end of the year, let's say one account is total gathering like thousands loyalty points, right? They're supposed to use this loyalty point with some different program. That was the business requirement. Okay, now I think this part, how to create a loyalty program, right, with a flow, is already we know how to do it. We already have done it. We had created a flow which was enabling the user to enter the name of the loyalty, the sales amount and date, and it was capturing the same into loyalty program object, right? That part is done. In this implementation we will see how that same thing will be mapped with account, right? And not only mapped with account, how this particular calculation we can actually do. This calculations we'll actually do, and we'll make sure that we keep adding those points. It's not the new value, it's keep adding those points in the total loyalty points. I hope this requirement is clear. I will just go inside Salesforce and quickly start implementing it. Okay, so I have created a couple of fields. Okay, one is, if you go to account, so one very important point here, you might get stuck if you ignore this point. That is, before even you go and create the flow, please make sure that you are done with creating all the fields, object and everything. What I mean is, let's say I have to create a new field in account called loyalty points. That's what we discussed, right? So what I'll do, before even I go and create a new flow, onboard the new flow, I will make sure that my fields, object, everything is ready. Because I have observed that sometime what happen, you don't create the field and then start creating the flow, and during the flow creation itself you create the field, right? That field sometimes doesn't get visible in the flow. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I would recommend that please create those objects with everything that you need to have in the flow. Get those things ready first, and then come to this flow page and create a new flow. For me, if I go to my object manager and account object, see there is a field I have created called loyalty points. This one, this is the loyalty points. So if I go to any account, right, let's say I'm going to this account called XYZ Private Limited. Okay, see this account has this field called loyalty points. Initially this point has it's 0, there's no point, right? And this account I have created loyalty points as the child, right? So if I go back to this object called loyalty points, right, first of all you're clear, right? This field with number, make sure it's a number, okay? Because the data type is very important. If you take here in the field as text and then you try to do something in the flow with number, then it will not work. Make sure the data type is same in your object and your flow as well, because in the flow also we're going to create few variables. Okay, so after you create this particular field called loyalty points, please create one more object called loyalty points. That's the object. Okay, this object has couple of fields. I have to show you this. I have already shown you this in the last video, but check this out. This has one field which is a lookup with account, because one account will have multiple loyalty points. Then I've created the date field, the name field is already standard field, and the sales amount, right? So the calculation will be happening based on the sales amount, correct? So now let's go ahead and create the flow. I hope the requirement is clear. I hope we can visualize what I'm trying to do here, because that's very important. Before even you go and try to implement something, you have to visualize what exactly you need the output, correct? And if I repeat the same thing again, I need something like this. Okay, let's say this is the account. Okay, try to visualize this. This is the account. I need a button like this. These are the buttons and actions, right? I need a button here. If I click on the button, okay, what will happen? I actually have created one test button here. Let me show you this. This is what the output I was looking for. If I click on the test, I would have got this same flow. That flow will be launched on click of this action. And once you give a name, let's say Rajesh test, and give some amount, let's say 100. So click on next. So what will happen? This flow will fire and the loyalty point will become 10. Again, I'll click on this. I'll give another, let's say 200. This time how much it will be? How much the total point it will be? It will be 10 plus 20. 10% of 200 is 20, right? So total would be 30. See, it's already happening, right? I just created one test flow. Now I'm gonna create the same thing in front of you, just to make sure you also follow my screen and do the same thing. So again, repeating, say these fields, right? The loyalty points and this object, right? You have to get ready with first loyalty points. So please get ready with these fields, and these are the fields. Make sure you select the same data type that I have selected. Once you're done with that, let's go to the flow and create a new flow. This time I have to go and create a same screen flow. Okay, preform. First thing is what? Screen. So I'm going to take a screen. I will repeat the same thing that I've done last time also. So text, I'll quickly do it. You're familiar with this, so will not take much time for you to understand. This is name, and this is not required, so give a name, create loyalty data. This is basically, the program name was loyalty program. I mean, the customer actually named it as loyalty program, where they were actually capturing the loyalty points, and we will talk about something called redemption as well. I mean, redemption, I want you to do it. Loyalty program is what we will do together, and redemption part, I want you to do it. Okay, let's talk about the redemption after we're done with this. Get date, one more field called sales amount. These three fields are already there in my form. I don't want this pause button, so just remove it, and done. My screen is ready. So now we are done with the screen part, right? So this screen will open, and the end user will fill in the data, name, date, and sales amount, and then what will happen, it will create a new record in the loyalty object. Here I'm going to show you one small thing. This is very important. Okay, the problem statement is this. We know the entire requirement right now. What do you think, how can I get the ID of this account? Because see, when you create a new loyalty program, you have to loyalty points data, you have to map that loyalty points under the same account, right? So you need the account ID. You know what I mean? When you're creating this loyalty here, create records, you need the record ID, you need the account ID, so that you can map, okay, this loyalty program that I'm creating is going to be under this particular account. How do you get the ID? Let me tell you this. If you go to manager, this is where we create all the variables, right? Let's create a new variable. So you have clicked on the new resource variable, give a name, record ID. Please make sure that you give the same record, R small, R record, and I is capital. Okay, make sure you give the same name, record ID. The moment you give record ID and select the data type, let's say as text, and whenever you create variable, I'm creating this variable to hold the account ID, by the way. Make sure you check these two boxes. Okay, done. Now this variable that I have created, no, record ID, this will automatically hold the account ID. I don't have to do anything. This record ID will automatically hold the account ID because this actions, I'm going to launch the flow right from this the account detail page. Because I'm going to launch the flow from the account detail page, automatically the record ID, all you need to do is you have to give the name as RECORD capital ID. Automatically Salesforce will hold that particular from wherever you are launching that flow, no, that record ID inside the variable. Very simple. Now this will help me to map the loyalty with the account. Now I am done with the record ID creation. One small thing I have to correct here, and which is this. See, when I created this screen, no, in the screen I had three fields: name, date, and sales amount. If you see here, name, it should be text, which is fine. Date, I have taken text as the data type. That's not going to work out, right? So you have to make sure that you take correct data type. You choose correct data type in the screen, in the flow screen. And if you see sales amount, it has to be number, right? If it is not number, then you will find it difficult to map this with somewhere else. So I'm going to delete this, right? And create a new date field, drag and drop, this time date, and I'm going to create one more with number. Okay, sales amount has to be number always, so I'm just going to create here, what's that? Okay, this is already exist, dates. This is going to be sales amount. Now if you see here, I have created correct data type because the API name already exists, so I just have given a few extra S just to make sure this is unique. Okay, now this is cool, right? Done. My screen is ready, my record ID is ready. What next? Next is I have to create a loyalty data. Okay, so quickly create a loyalty data. Select the object, select this first. Check the object, loyalty points, Now select the fields. The date of the loyalty point should be coming from dates. That's the field in the screen, right? And sales amount, right? Sales amount would be coming from sales amounts. I'm sorry, I have given multiple lists. It doesn't look good, but sales amount would be coming from the screen sales amount page. And here the most important part is the account. So what would I enter here? Because I have to map this loyalty with the account, right? And which account, by the way? The same account from which I'm clicking on this button, no? So how do I get the account ID? If you remember, I just now have created a variable called RecordID. Now under the variable, there could be multiple variables. I just have created only one variable, which is coming over here. Select the RecordID. You see, this is very easy and very helpful to map the child record with the parent record. I got the ID ready with me. I did nothing. I just created a variable called RecordID, and Salesforce automatically loaded the current record ID inside the variable. Okay, and then name is equal to same name in the screen. I'm done, right? Okay, now drag and drop this. Okay, now how do I test it? Let me save this. Okay, create loyalty for account. I have to show you something. If you save this, and then how do I create this test button, right? I have to show you. This is nothing but action, right? This button is called action. So in order to create these actions, so what I have done is I have created one action which is actually calling this flow. The flow name is loyalty for account. Okay, now I'm gonna go and create a new action. Please see how I'm creating the actions, because you have to replicate the same thing. Go to setup, and if you go to object manager, right, setup and object manager, just go to the object called account. You have something called button links and action. Okay, if you go to button links and action, you have to create a new action called, let's say I'm giving name as launch loyalty program. Okay, and this time this action will call what? It will call a flow. What's the name of the flow? Name of the flow is I don't see the name of the flow over here. Any reason why? I have created the flow, which is this, right? Loyalty for account, but I'm not able to see that flow over there in the list. What is the reason? The reason is this. See, my flow is not yet active. You will also do the same mistakes, right? That's the reason why I'm going like one by one and trying to create the same mistakes so that you can correct it out, right? So make sure this is active. Once this is active, and if you refresh this page, here we go. Now you see the flow will be available. The flow name was create loyalty for account, correct? And launch this is the name of the button. Done. Now I have created the button. What next? Do you think that if I create the button it will automatically come in the layout? No, you have to go back to the object manager, go to the account, and you have something called page layouts, correct? Page layouts. Open the account layout. Once you open the account layout, if you scroll down, this is where you get to see the actions. This is Salesforce mobile and lightning experience actions. These are the actions. Okay, here you have to click on this mobile and lightning action. Immediately whatever action I just created, it will come over here. So the name of the action was launch something, right? See, launch loyalty program is coming. Where do I have to drag and drop? I have to drag and drop it over here. I'm going to put it before test. Okay, before test I'm going to see one more button called launch loyalty program. Done. Save. Now this is how we actually invoke a flow from a particular detail page, record detail page. All right, so this part is clear. How can you call the flow? So this is how this is my button, launch loyalty program. If I click on this button, what's going to happen? I'm going to see the same button, same screen that I have created. Give a name. Name is loyalty test, give a date. See, because I have selected the data type as det, right, it is coming, it's showing the calendar, and sales amount is 100. Next, see, there's a new loyalty program created called view all loyalty test. That's the one I just now created, right? If you see here, this loyalty program has an account called the same account that under which I just have created. Got it? How this account got mapped? Because of the same thing that I showed you, right? Record ID is the magic of the record ID variable. I did nothing. I went to manager and created this variable called record ID, and the same thing in the create record action. No, I'm just mapping the record ID as the account ID. That's it. It automatically done, right? Cool. Now this part is done. I have taken the screen. I have created the record. What is next? Please try to remember the requirement. The requirement was the whenever you create a new account, new loyalty program, all right, whatever sales amount that you are entering here, let's say the sales amount I'm giving here 100, correct? Then 10% of 100 is 10, right? 10 should be added with whatever existing loyalty points that we have. It should be 40. How do you do that? Okay, so for that, let's go step by step. Okay, first step is I'm done with screen, then created the loyalty program record. What is next? Next, I have to get this value. How do I know what was the existing value that I had in loyalty? Because every time I create a new loyalty program, it should add the 10% value with the existing one. So I have to first have a reference of this 30, right? How do I get the reference of this loyalty points data? For that, I have to use one more get records. Got it? This time the get record would be to fetch the data from account. Which account? I have the record ID, by the way. All right, so give a name, give a meaningful proper name. Find the current loyalty. Cool. What is the object? Account. Which record you want to find that? Where the ID, right, account ID is equals to what? Record ID. Isn't it easy? You have the record ID ready, but I mean, you have to get this. You might have thousands of account, but do you want to get like all thousands account loyalty points? No. You want to get this particular loyalty points, like 30 is what you want to hold in a variable. How do you get it? Is through this. ID is equal to record ID, and choose this option called choose fields and assign to a variable. I have to fetch the data, fetch the current loyalty points and hold it in a variable. That's when I can use that variable in the next steps, right? So to hold it in a variable, I have to select this and select in separate variable. I have not created the variable, by the way. I supposed to go to manager and create it. Don't worry, I can create the variable here also. So first select the field. Which field you want to fetch? Loyalty program, right? Loyalty points. That's the one. Loyalty points. Remember this loyalty point, like for me this happened, okay, when I was testing this out. Okay, I did not create this field and I started creating the flow, and then while creating the flow I created this field. Got it? And I was not able to find this out. This is a very genuine problem that you might also see, that your field is already created but still you are not able to use that field in the flow. So that's the reason why I'm telling you, first get ready with the field and object creation. You create those fields first. After that, create a fresh flow. Make sense? That's what I'm doing here. So I have selected loyalty points. Now from this account loyalty point, this data will go and send into which variable? There is no variable created, so we have a plus button over here. I can on the go create the variable. The name of the variable is what? Current loyalty program. Loyalty point, sorry. This is little lengthy requirement and we are implementing, so just try to be connected. And as I said, just make sure these two checkboxes are true. Okay, so data type I have taken as text, and ideally it should be number, right? No text. You take text, then it will be the same problem, right? So don't take text. If it's a number, take always a number. Everywhere the data type has to be same. Okay, now I have fetched the account data. Which account? Where the ID is equal to record ID. What data I have fetched? The current account loyalty program data, loyalty points data, I have fetched and hold it in a variable called current loyalty points. That's it. Now I'm gonna tag this create account to this. So first thing what I've done, screen, created the loyalty program, then fetch the current loyalty points from the current account. What next? Next is I have to do one small assignment. First of all, I have to create this 10% of the sales amount, right? Okay, so just to connect you back, see, I have to first calculate whatever amount I'm giving here, 10% of that. How do I calculate this? So for that, it's very simple formula I can create. I can go to manager, go to resource, create a formula this time, no variable, formula, because I have to calculate 10% of it, right? So name of that formula field should be after calculation, correct? Data type should be number, okay? Don't forget that this should be always number. And now what would be the formula? The formula would be in the screen, the field name is sales amounts. That's the field name, right, in the screen. So 10% of that, so select that field first, okay? And how do you calculate 10%? Into 10, end the bracket, open the bracket, right? Here you have to open the bracket and then divided by 100. That's how you calculate 10%. Make sure you give the exactly same thing, right? If there is any if you miss the bracket or something, then this formula will not work and you're gonna get an error message. So try to match the formula, your formula, with the same formula. Done. Now I have created this formula called after calculation, which is actually calculating 10% of the whatever value I'm entering in the screen. What is next? Next is whatever calculation number I got, after the calculation whatever number I got, like 10% of 100, let's say 10, I have to add it with this existing number. Correct? Now how do I get the existing number? The existing number, existing loyalty points, if you remember, I have already fetched over here. The existing points I have already fetched over here and hold it in a variable called current loyalty points. Okay, so one small assignment I'm going to do here. See, check this out. This assignment is important. So this is where I thought, okay, let me give you a scenario where I can use the assignment operator as well. So give a name, total, calculating total points, okay, where it's like current points plus the after calculation. So how do you do it? See this, the variable was current loyalty points, right? That's the variable which hold the current loyalty points data, which is 30, right? Now let me just close this to window. Right now this variable holds the current loyalty points. I'm going to just click on this add, because it should be like current loyalty points plus after calculation. You see, this is something that you have to understand, okay? My requirement is it should be 30 plus 10% of whatever the new value. It's become 40. Next time again I create a new loyalty program, it should be 40 plus whatever the new value. So you have to keep adding it with the new calculated value, 10% of that sales amount. You have to keep adding it with the existing one, with the old value. So for that I have done this. Current loyalty points, this is the variable which is holding the current value, which is 30. And now I'm going to add, right, after calculation data on top of this. This is the syntax, okay? In coding we do a little different, but this is how we add something. I cannot use equals to, I have to use add here. Alright, my assignment is also done. Let me just connect this get record with assignment. What is next? I have done the screen. I have created the loyalty record, made sure that the loyalty records get mapped with the correct account, which is happening. After that I have created I have fetched the current loyalty points, correct? and then after that I calculated the formula 10% of the sales amount, and then I did the assignment, right? The current loyalty points is equals to current loyalty points. So this means current loyalty points is equals to same current loyalty points plus after the calculation whatever value you got. I hope this is very much clear. This is like confusing, okay? That's the reason why I'm just repeating it again and again. So current loyalty points is equal to current loyalty points plus after calculation is what means this. Okay, so once you're done with that, what next? I just have to go and update. I have the data now, right? I have the total amount, right? Total points data I have in my hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and update the account now. That's it. Update account. Which account, by the way? I might have like thousands of account, right? I want to update which account? Where the record ID. First of all, select account. Okay, select account, and which account? Where the ID is equals to record ID. Actually, this record ID does a lot of magic, and I mean it comes all standard. Okay, and when you update this particular account, which field are you going to update? The entire account? No, right? Some specific field you're going to update. Which field? This particular field called loyalty points. That's the field you're going to update, right? So select that field called loyalty points. I've selected this, and you want to update this field value with what? So if you remember, the current loyalty points. The current loyalty points is what? What is the value of current loyalty points? The current loyalty points value is current loyalty points plus the after calculation points. Correct? This is what the value. I'm done. Everything is set. Drag the line. I just have to give one more screen called display screen. Display text called success message, and give a nice message. New points are added. All right, and give this. Done. We give a name. Okay, name is like success message. Cool. So in the end, I'll just drag and drop it. Now the most important part is this, right? See, this flow become little complex now. I hope you have already connected the dots. If not, you need to re-watch that video again and make sure that you understand everything with the requirement and with the implementation. So as an admin, you are done with creating the flow. What is next? Next is you have to debug. I know this might work, this may not work, right? Before even I go and test it correctly, right, I have to debug it. Okay, let's go and test it first, then we'll do the debug. Okay, I'll just quickly save as, because this has not been saved yet. You get it? If you close this, everything will go. Whatever you have added, it has not been saved. So please click on save as, create a new version of it, and now this has been saved. Once you save, please make sure it is activated. Now this flow is ready. Okay, I'm gonna go here, go to an account where there is no child loyalty points. Do I have any good account name? There's no good account name. So let me create a new account first. Testing loyalty program. This account has no such values. I just have created the account, and this account has a button called launch loyalty program. Let's launch this and give a name, test, or let's say, give a name test. Right from there. This time I'm giving amount as 100. Click on next. Do you see new points are added? That's the success message, right? Click on finish, and this is my new points. If I click this button again, I mean this action again, I'm gonna give like, you know, test 1. Date is not mandatory, but still I'm giving it. This time I'm giving, let's say 300. What do you think? What will be the new value? 10 was there, 300 I'm giving, so 10% of 300 is 3030. 10 was there, so it will be 40, correct? Click next, and here we go. This is 40. All right, all set. Okay, this is little complex, I agree, but you need to watch that video again, and you have to implement it. The moment you implement it, you get the confidence. Okay, let me show you this. The flow can be easily debugged. Sometimes what happened, like when I was doing the test now, I was actually thinking about this story, and I thought, before I show you this, let me just implement it first. When I did the implementation, I found I forgot to give the record ID. The calculation didn't go well. So how do you do this debug? Makes sense? That would be a problem, right? When you implement something, there would be a problem. If you click on the debug, see, if you click on the debug, your flow doesn't have access to the account ID. You getting me? If you click on the debug button, you are not launching the flow from any account, so it doesn't have the account ID. Now if it doesn't have the account ID, then how can you fetch this? How can this particular get record works? So for that reason, all you need to do is copy one dummy account ID, and you have this record ID. Yeah, in the record ID, hardcode that ID. You got it? This record ID you have to hardcode, because you are clicking on the debug button and launching this flow. But ideally, when the same flow will be launched from your account page, you don't have to give this hardcoded ID anywhere. It will automatically fetch the current account ID. Click on run. It's giving me a screen, and this is where you get to see all the details. See this: date, sales amount. If you click on next, if there is any error, right, you will get to see over here. This will show you exactly what is happening in the backend. It's done. See, first thing is, let me just increase the, you can see it, right? Okay. So the first thing is the screen, right? The screen name, the create loyalty data has been launched. Okay. And you have given date, number, and everything, and clicked on next, right? Once you clicked on next, what happened? It created one loyalty data first. Okay, where the account ID you have given record ID, which is this. Okay, if you copy this record ID is nothing but the record ID that you have hard coded. Okay, the date, exactly what given date, name, and everything, and as a result, it created a record in the loyalty. You see, the debug is very, very much helpful, where you can check each and everything. Right? See, this ID has been generated after the record has created in the loyalty program. If you copy this ID, and if you go here, remove everything right after this and paste it, you see, this is the record while debugging got created. The loyalty program record, that's the record test. So the debug, it gives you the ID also. ID means the record gets created, there's no problem. Now the get record has fired. In the get record, what it fetched is basically the current loyalty points. The current loyalty point was 4040, right? So it successfully found the current loyalty point. Then we did the assignment. In the assignment, what happened after calculation? So 40 plus 20 has been added. And then after that, the update thing has been fired, and this has updated the account. Account what? The account loyalty points. Account loyalty points with what? With this particular variable which was holding 60. Got it? And now if you go and see, this account has this particular account named testing loyalty program. If you go, the loyalty points is 6060. Amazing. This is how Flow help us to create the create or update or get the records, these three things. And I'm going to show you in the next video how to delete record as well. This is also very easy, and we do all these operations with the Flow. Okay, I hope this example was helpful for you, and see you in the next video, where I'm going to talk about the delete records.